Hey now, welcome to the dirty side of the track, America's leading Formula One podcast. I'm Brian, that's Rob. Yesterday, we're a day late. Yesterday was the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. I loved the whole weekend. We'll get into it in a minute. Rob, how are you, man? And did you have as good a weekend as I did watching F1?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed pretty much all of this. I'm going to have one take later that we might debate. I'm not sure if we're going to agree or whether we're going to disagree on it. But what was quite nice is that not all of our listeners are automated bots that don't actually listen but just download it. There are real people out there. So everyone who reached out to say, "Hey, is everything all right with you guys?" Because you're normally like clockwork that the episode is out within a few hours after the Grand Prix. Then thank you for checking in on us. Yeah, and first big shout out has to go to Az because he was the first one to come and say, "Hey, where is it? What's going on?" I was like, "It's okay, Az. It's all good." So thank you, Dirty Siders, for checking in on us. It's all good. Yeah, it's quite weird to have kind of had a day go by and just see if any news broke out that we would have missed, and we didn't. So actually, we are pretty amazing at recording straight away after a race because odds are we don't miss anything.
I mean, right? And how many times have we done the day after? Like maybe 2 times in 4 years?
Something like that, maybe.
Very
Yeah,
rare.
yeah.
Very rare. So this is a special edition.
A special edition that will follow the exact same format we always do. So news and social first. See what caught our eye there. Brian's been on the road, but oh my word, is he back big style for the video vault? So
You can count
we
on me,
have that
baby.
there. Yeah, and then we have the race weekend, which will take in practice, sprint, quali, the sprint, quali, the race itself. Then we'll pick the bones out of it, and then that'll probably be it because we don't have a race to preview, unfortunately. So we've just got to try to work out what the heck we're doing next weekend. So should we start at the beginning? It's
Let's
pretty
do
traditional,
it.
isn't it?
Great place to
Yeah,
start.
great place. So the first thing I saw this week was Williams have rebranded. Now, the rebrand itself isn't really huge because they've been known as Williams Racing since 2014, and they will rebrand to Williams F1 team, with Atlassian being their main partner as they still are. So they've just put F1 back in there. But the big chef's kiss bit for me is they've gone to the old W of
Love it.
Williams, the leaning forwards, italic, whatever you want to call it. W is chef's kiss for me.
I absolutely love it. I'm so excited they're doing this. Anytime you have a strong history and then you can go back to it, whether it's the Pizza Hut logo or whatever it may be, those things of the past of yesteryear are always so great to see come back. I love that. And I don't know, I don't want to go too out of order, but they also dropped the Brazil livery. Speaking of Williams branding, I loved it. Can we go into it now? Is it okay?
We can. It was the next note that I had, but I
I just
kind of
didn't know if we
confused
had to hold it
myself
for
with
the
a.
weekend, but
I had a Pitlane Paul style problem where I said Williams also dropped their Brazil livery, which we'll have seen by the time we get to this note. So maybe we should read it out in the race review, or should we read it out here? It's a classic
so
Pitlane
good.
Paul
I got
conundrum.
so many text messages from people who love that livery this weekend. I mean, anytime you get that bluish golf livery type feel to it, you know you're going in the right direction. And the way they wove it in with the other colors, I thought it was great.
I think Williams have got themselves a little bit of a problem because they've dropped two special liveries this year that I've loved more than their actual livery. So this one was fantastic.
What was
The
the
one
other
a
one?
couple of races back where they had the white nose on it.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Oh, both. I mean, whoever's designing the special liveries needs to get on point for designing the actual livery next year because that's just amazing.
Well, maybe they should spend less time on special liveries and more on the pit lane limiter for Carlos next time from Mexico. Anywho, big news for me. My guy, my fave, Charles Leclerc, got engaged. He asked his partner, Alexandra Samalou. I don't know. It can't be Saint Malouks, so it's Samalou. They got engaged. I love the way he did it. He used his dog Leo. There was a little tag that said, "Dad wants to marry you." I'm all for it. This is good stuff. I guess that means our future, Charles and mine together, is a no-go at this point, which is, kind of the way I figured it was going to go. So anyhow, good for him. Congratulations. It's good to be a Ferrari driver.
Well, at least let's concentrate on being a Ferrari driver. I won't be the Grinch and say, I don't really care he got engaged. But let's get back to racing, shall we? So, Franco Colapinto, that we all thought might be about to get the axe, has been given a contract, but it's got kind of got all the hallmarks of a Jack Doohan, because I think I read somewhere that it's short term. It's not even, no one's even committed to a year yet. So I don't know that he's got the first 5 races of 26, but sounds like he might have the first part of 26, but not the whole thing.
I mean, at one point before Valtteri to Cadillac was a done deal, there were so many rumors about Valtteri to Alpine and taking that seat for the rest of the year. But then, he starts working on the Cadillac team. It makes sense for him to be all in there. So he obviously withdrew or whatever happened where he wasn't in the Alpine picture. They have not been happy with Franco for a long time. And if I'm Franco, man, you got to get some really good results on the board as best you can, as fast as you can. And quite frankly, to your point, you got to make sure that 26 starts off with a bang. Hope that car's good. Hope they've used a different chassis for the first time in 3 years and that they come out with something decent. And you got to look good. He's got to outperform Pierre a couple times early next year. Otherwise, he's got to be in super big trouble, right?
Or he's got to at least match him.
Yeah.
So you can't have a big delta for the first part of the season. So if they come out, whether the car is great or whether it's medium or whether it's crap, Franco just needs to be within touching distance of Gasly all the time. And like you say, maybe just out-qualify him or outperform him in a race once in a while. But he can't be the big delta that we've been seeing. It's
right.
just...
can't happen.
That can't be it.
I did not see this next story. I am so excited for this. I'm going to find music for the end of it. Go for it, though.
This is just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I only came in on the end of this. I haven't seen this guy's story. And actually part of this is because he hasn't been making a big, huge fanfare about it. And in actual thing, I like the way he's a bit understated and hasn't... I'm going to sound like what do we say? The get off my lawn old man rant. It's like there's a lot of content creators out there that are blatantly only doing it because they want to get invited to the pit lane or do something fancy, and that's the only reason they're doing it. It's look at me, look at me, look at me. Please invite me, please invite me. This guy hasn't. Brandon Burgess started off to try to attend all 24 races this season on a £20,000 budget. And using just 28 days of annual leave while maintaining a full-time job. And he's been cataloging his journey on Instagram, but just almost like a blasé, yeah, this is what I'm up to, follow along my journey if you want, I'm going to see if I can make it happen. And I've been reading on a few of these things recently, and yeah, it's not any kind of scam. This guy has legitimately got himself a budget, worked out his vacation schedule, and was like, right, I think I can do this, and this to make it work. He's had to take his laptop with him and like work from venues. He's got flexible working, which means he's remote, which is helping him because think about it, 24 races, 28 days vacation.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work out too well. But anyway, Heineken and Formula One have issued their first ever season ticket that they're granting for next year. And it's a season ticket that will grant the fan and their guest access to all 24 Grand Prix with travel and accommodation included.
What?
And they gave it to Brandon for next year.
That's so cool. Also, to your point that we haven't really talked a lot about him or heard about him to this point, so many people, as want to get access to things and talk to their fans and look at me, I'm here. Haven't heard of this guy, and I am jealous. I am insanely jealous of this person. I wish I could do this. Don't you? I mean, unfortunately, we've got families and careers that won't work
I really
for
do,
this.
but how many of the 24 races do you think you could actually attend given your family and work life?
Are you kidding me? I can't even get the video vault together most weeks, let alone get to a race. That is amazing. And in honor of Brandon, I'd like to say that is a
great success.
Okay. It is time for something that has been gone for far too long. Let's talk about the video vault. Open that bad boy up. Yeah, so I was actually around for a good portion of last week. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. And there were a couple things on the F1 channel that deserve a little bit of attention. The first one, 28 times drivers made breathtaking saves. The Formula One channel, 10 minutes. Yeah, it's fine. The beginning is great because they go... First of all, we've talked about this here. Can you go in reverse order? Start at 28 and work your way to 1. Because when you give us the dessert first, I'm not coming back to eat my Brussels sprouts in the main course. I'm just leaving the table. You gave us 1, 2, 3, and by 5, I'm like, yeah, they're not as good as 1, 2, 3, 4. So anyway, that being said, so good. And if you tune in for the beginning and then tune out like I did, it's worth it just to see the first couple. And by the way, making great saves will come back later in this episode, so hang on to that thread. 2, Can an F1 driver play the guitar? This was on the Visa Cash App RBF1 team. This is obviously the Racing Bulls team. I liked this way, 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 way too much. This is Liam and Isaac. Liam teaching Isaac to play the guitar. Rob, did you happen to see this by any chance?
I haven't, but because I kind of didn't see it until you put all the notes in. I was like, oh yeah, he's on a video vault this week, so I'll definitely check it out.
This
when
is
I publish
one
the
that
episode.
if you have, we both are Isaac fanboys. We both like watching Racing Bulls. We both respect Liam, even though his elbows are out even when they're in. And I would love to see more of this type of stuff. They were having fun teaching guitar. I recommend this one to everybody. Third, Lando Norris makes a one-of-a-kind burger at Michelin-starred restaurant. Hilton Channel, 11 minutes, way too long. He's making a burger with the chef. The chef has multiple Michelin stars, and he's explaining to him how to make the burger. Could have been 4 minutes. Could have been 3 minutes. And the chef has a lot of patience for Lando. He kind of, I mean, I'm not saying Lando wasn't great in this, but if I'm the chef, I'm kind of leaving the filming like, yeah, all right, that guy, whatever. Maybe we don't hang out again. Again, Lando wasn't bad. I'm a Lando guy. Let's stop the Lando hate. This just wasn't the Lando video I was looking for. And finally, like I said, the second F1 channel. Can F1 drivers guess the circuit from just the steering wheel? Way too hard. This is 7 minutes long. I couldn't figure out a thing, and neither could most drivers. Because what they do, and again, if you want to check it out, please do. But they zoom in from the T-cam at the top of the car, you know, on the top of the car, and so then they zoom in just on the steering wheel, and you can see the driver's helmet. So like Max is like, "Oh, that's me," and oh, that's Nico's like, "Oh, that's me," and then they watch them steer. It's impossible. Like, it is so hard to figure this out, and it was hard for the drivers.
So conceptually, it sounds like you should be able to work it out. So I'm guessing it's like they'll be holding it straight for a while. So you're like, okay, straight. Then they'll turn left.
And they all got it
left hand.
Eventually, but no one got it into turn one because it's either a left or a right, and it's effectively.
I mean, you've got to be about probably third into a lap before anybody even starts trying to work out the pattern, I guess.
I mean, tell me the difference between the first turn at Coda and Brazil. Nothing. You can't tell the elevation difference by the wheel. It's just the same left.
That's what I mean. It's got to be a decent amount into the lap before they started getting it. And Max, like me and you, probably would never get it.
No chance. I watched the whole thing, and I mean, I would have just rambled off all 24 races, and eventually one of them would have been right. Anyway, that is the video vault this week. Rob, anything you want to add before I close it up?
No. Slam it up. Nice. Okay, so a bumper weekend of competitive running as we had our... Is it first ever sprint at Brazil, or is it first in a while?
No. We've had.
Or was it first since last year? I don't remember.
Last year.
Was there a sprint last year in Brazil?
I'm pretty sure. And then I think there was one the year before. Wasn't that the Magnussen one? When it was all the weird stuff and he got pole, but then didn't?
I don't know. For some reason, it kind of caught me as we hadn't had one for a couple of years, but obviously we have, so I'm wrong. But that's fine, because us being wrong is going to, or me being wrong, is going to be a theme for a couple of things, especially as we go straight to practice here, where Ferrari and Max, in particular, decided that they would make our midweek predictions look absolutely insane. Brian had got Max winning it. I'd gone and put Lewis on the podium. And after the end of practice, I just looked at him and went, oh my God, we're both idiots.
Which is different from normal how?
I don't know. This one just seemed to hit harder. So basically, practice laid down the idea that Ferrari and Max might not be competitive. But it's practice, as Paul would say. It's just practice. No one cares. So let's go into sprint quali and see what would happen there. Well, first off, Carlos Sainz just decided, do you know what? I'm not really up for the sprint. I'm going to save all my juice for the main race.
I'm going to make sure I'm going to come out of turn 12, and instead of, flooring it like every other driver does, I'm going to actually kind of look around a little bit and pull over, smell the flowers on the side of the track, and then I'm going to see if I can actually make a flying lap starting it basically at the start-finish line.
Yeah, just cross the line at about 20 miles an hour. Who needs a 200 mile an hour as you come across the line? I bet I can do it.
I recognize there was a lot of traffic. I saw the onboard, and there was a ton of traffic, and people are passing them left and right. But wouldn't you rather be in traffic and moving than out of traffic and going in reverse? I mean, maybe I'm not smart enough to comprehend everything, but I was shocked at that approach to the start.
And that approach left him 20th, dead last, as they say. And joining him out in SQ1 was Bestie, Yuki, Liam Lawson, and Colapinto. On to SQ2, and yeah, my Lewis prediction started looking really, really bad after practice wasn't bad enough. He then goes out in SQ2, although, was this the one where, or was it Qualy where Lewis gets done? Which is the one where basically Charles messed it up for him. Is that when we get to Qualy rather than sprint Qualy? I think it is, isn't it?
I can't remember, but I remember Charles doing fine in Qualy.
There was one where Charles basically spun and caused a flag, and
that
then
was
that
in
prevented
sprint
Lewis
quali.
from doing that sprint.
Quali.
So Lewis is out in 11th, but really he never got to do his final lap because
Right.
So Ferrari just had, this is going to be the beginning of what we're going to go on to talk about, just a weekend to forget. Some their fault, some not their fault. But this one, Charles managed to screw up, which had a domino effect of taking out Lewis, which saw him join Alex, the gas man, Gabby, and Mr. Behrman.
Which was a shocker for me because coming off of Mexico, Behrman looked great, and everyone's saying the Haas is going to be fast around here. And we already lost Esti Besti at 19th, and then we lost Behrman at 15th. However, that was not the way the weekend would end up playing out, for Haas overall.
I know the sprint really wasn't indicative of
Quali
in the race, which is bizarre.
Especially.
Well, yeah, sprint quali, yeah. Well, not even, yeah, maybe even the actual event itself, as we'll get to in a second. So SQ3 came around, looked like it was going to be both the McLarens, but again, a little bit of foreshadowing. Kimi Antonelli was feeling a little bit racy this weekend and went and put himself. We had a Kimi sandwich served on McLaren bread as Lando took sprint pole. Yeah, sprint pole from Kimi, from Oscar, from George, from Fernando. Aston Martin in 5th. Are they going to be quick this weekend? No. Max down in 6th.
False start.
Stroll in 7th. Charles in 8th. Isaac in 9th. And Nico Hülkenberg in 10th. So that was the way we got ready to line up for the sprint. And as is tradition on a sprint weekend, we get a triple helping of the man, the myth, the legend, Pitlane Paul. So have I padded long enough for you to queue up Friday clip, Brian?
Hey now, and welcome to America's leading Formula One podcast. It's the morning after sprint qualifying, and the reason I've delayed recording the first of these 3 beefings, I've decided to call them, is because I expected to wake up and the weather be adverse is the way to look at it. We had a warning of another typhoon approaching. But just waking up now, it's 7:30, looking out the window, it don't look too bad. I mean, yes, it's raining, that's fair, but it doesn't look too bad. So, for the first beefing, it's a Saturday morning beefing. Now, the reason I chose beefing is Brazil is famous for lots of things, and one of those things is what we call churrascarias, which is a Brazilian barbecue where they come along with skewers of cow and slice off bits of cow and put them on your plate, and it's fantastic. Sorry to all the vegetarians out there, and, well, I'm not sorry, actually. I won't lie to you. It's down to personal choice. If you want to go and eat salad, fill your boots, no problem. I'm a cow eater, so I will eat cow. So this will be the first beefing. But I respect everyone. I respect the world. Speaking of respecting the world, let's quickly touch on Friday. There's nothing really massive happened. I mean, Yuki had a bit of an off in FP1. He's still struggling, bless him. God bless him. Really wanting to do well. Just can't see it. And then there was no real massive surprise. And then sprint qualifying. I mean, fair play to Kimi. Funny enough, after last week's episode where we were all probably saying about the fantasy team, or not even the fantasy team, it was the real team. Yeah. And we sort of opted to put Kimi down. He sort of slammed that back in our face a little bit, didn't he?
A little bit, big time.
By an excellent run to P2. Lewis got Ferrari'd a little bit by Ferrari, by Charles, actually. But to be fair, looking at the footage, I don't think Charles spun actually would have, I'm not sure, would have made a massive amount of difference because Lewis, I think, went through that yellow flag zone still with enough time. Well, not enough time to get to the flag. I just think it was, let's say, poor execution all around. I don't know the full facts, so I'm not going to comment too much on that. I'm not going to slate Ferrari if I don't know the facts, but given their track record, it's likely that they screwed up.
Jeez.
And then onwards from there, what have we got? Nothing too substantial. Max was very moody with life, which is fine. Yeah. And then Oscar not really slamming the wheels off that McLaren, although he starts P3 for the sprint, which is a similar sort of feel to last week, where it's not the worst starting position in this race. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see today. I'm expecting more weather, so I can't really comment. So that's really it for the first beefing of Brazil. The beefing of Brazil. We'll speak later.
Thank you, Paul. So then we get to Saturday. We get to the sprint. And the track is drying from a wet state. It's not currently raining, but the track is drying, and people are all over the formation lap. It was early Central Time on a Saturday, and Rob texts me, "Are you live?" Which is kind of what whomever is first 5 minutes before the race on our WhatsApp says, "Are you live?" So we know whether or not we can share spoilers. And I said, "On my way." And I made it just in time, and I was very confused at people being way off the line and getting water on their tires and looking for dry lines up high. I'm like, wait, why is there a dry line way up there on the formation lap? And they're avoiding this, that, and the other. Oh boy, those puddles would come into play in a couple minutes' time, and I did not see that coming. I did not expect it. So we had Carlos and Yuki from the pit lane. There was the Ferraris were a split strategy. But we had some cars on the mediums, most of the top though on the softs, and they put the 5 lights went on, and I will be honest, this was one of the fastest lights out I've ever seen. It was like,
yes,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go, and I'm like, whoa, I wasn't prepared for that. But yeah, there was very little T1 drama in this situation. There was drama later in the lap, but turn 1 was fairly clear for most people, and I was shocked by that.
Yeah, so was I. And then something, despite the fact that we're recording a day later, I've not looked into your question here, is that we saw Liam spin Ollie around, and you put surprise, surprise, because, past performance is to blame Liam on this one. But I don't know, when they were showing the onboard, Liam was already as far left as you can be. If he goes any further left, he starts putting his wheels onto grass in the wet, which is not where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So then I only saw that Ollie got the penalty.
I think they both did. I heard they give
both. If both people get a penalty, isn't it then an incident? And they don't give a penalty out at all. They both got 5 seconds for causing a collision.
Rob, we are America's leading Formula One podcast. We can't ask ourselves questions we don't know the answer to, and I don't know the answer to this.
Okay.
Yeah. I heard later in the day that they both got a 5-second penalty, which I'm assuming was only for the sprint, and 1 penalty point on their super license. So I heard they both did. I was assuming it was for. I just assumed.
I'm going to say that Lee on the Discord normally is good at looking into these. So if we could have an answer on the Discord tomorrow, that'd be fantastically.
So thank you, Lee. Don't let Rob push you around. Hey, so seriously though, who would you blame? Who do you blame on that? I know it's lap
Ollie,
1, but it ain't turn 1. Yeah. You blame Ollie.
If you're going to say it's not a turn 1 incident, then Liam comes up the inside. I think he is whatever axle level with an armpit or whatever you need to be doing these days. And he can't go anywhere. He can't turn left because he's already almost on track limits. At that point, it's going to be difficult to back out. And I think he's already level with him. I think I would have had it down as an incident and said nobody, but he had to give out blame. I think Ollie turns across him a little bit.
Man, you've never been more wrong. And I'm not going on past performance,
There's no right hand down from Liam. He doesn't turn into Ollie at all.
But I think he does. I don't think he turns hard enough. So he
can't go any further left.
He comes after the apex. So he comes steaming down the inside. I did not like Ollie moving so far left and pushing Liam onto the grass. So I have a problem with Ollie doing that. They get to the corner. Liam goes for a position that is maybe there, barely there, sort of there. I mean, it was like a reach. He at least was under control, so kudos to having not locked up. But so as he comes on the inside, I remember it, where the contact wasn't immediately at the apex. It was as they came out. And Liam, I think, opened his wheel a little bit more than he could have, should have, with Ollie being on the outside. So for me, the super knowledgeable F1 expert who drove for 15 years for the Toyota Gazoo Racing F1 team, I would give it to Liam still.
So just through the magic of Google, sorry, Lee, it was quicker to type into Google than wait for tomorrow. No, you're right. They both got it. And it's a really weird one because it says Behrman received a 5-second penalty and a penalty point for his part in the incident where he was deemed potentially dangerous driving for trying to force Liam off the track.
Right.
But then Lawson gets the penalty for causing the collision.
Which he did, that's what I'm saying. They came around, he stuck his, it wasn't at the exact same minute. The first one was on the straightaway.
Yeah, okay.
First was on the straightaway when it was Hulk right in front of him, and Ollie backs out and around and pushes Liam onto the grass. Penalty number 1. Then they continue to the corner. Liam sticks his nose up the inside left corner, and Ollie is like he's cut off, and he kind of goes around the outside. And as they come just past the apex, instead of continuing to turn left, it felt like Liam opened his wheel. And Ollie had nowhere to go. Like he would have to go off the track on the right side, effectively. If Liam...
Ollie had way more track to the right than Liam had to the left.
Correct.
Given they were on the left-hand side of the track.
The racing line was going straight, and Liam was pushing Ollie off the racing line.
I don't know. I think you're beating up Liam there for his past indiscretions. I thought that actually had Ollie written all over it. But anyway, they both got penalties, so there we go. Then all of a sudden, while we're kind of watching Oscar get DRS on Kimi, and we've got Alonso holding up the Ferraris, and Max isn't catching George after clearing Alonso. We're kind of watching these little bits play out, when all of a sudden we see Papaya smashed into a barrier.
Unbelievable.
And Oscar's out. And just as our brains are taking into account that Oscar is out, it's just, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. We get cars spinning into shot. Hulk and Colapinto start coming in. Everyone's wondering what the hell's going on. We don't really see any replays for a while. It gets red flagged, and then off on the red flag. Oh, my gosh.
They have to fill the time, Rob. I agree it was painful.
I know they have to fill the time, and I know we need to know what happened. But literally, they could have told us what happened once and then found something else to talk about maybe talking about what might happen at the restart. But we basically got about 6 minutes of CSI Investigates Puddlegate, where we just kept watching the SkyPad looking for whether someone touched a curb and bought some water. That little bit of water that's on the curb. And it's like, look, guys, they all dipped a wheel on the curb, which is wet, and they spun. Investigation over. It was wet. Oh,
it is the age-old problem, right? Like, we've seen so many wet tracks over the years. For anyone a little newer, touching the paint on a wet track is a no-no. Like the white line, that never has the same grip as the asphalt. Touching the curb, where you actually break traction with the tire in the ground, is an even bigger no-no in the wet. Now, you can do it more in the straight line, and that's what I think they were doing, because as you take that corner, you're not really turning hard left. But it was just too much. And whether CSI Lando Puddlegate, if he got a little bit of water up there, just left it for Oscar, and Kimi just missed the corner on purpose. He didn't touch the paint because he's smart enough to see that Lando kicked up 4 drops of water, and Kimi goes, I shall avoid. And then Oscar didn't see the puddle splash, and he goes, I'll be fine. And then he spun out. But I did love the coverage. I'm a sucker for when you watch an accident happen in the background, especially, of course, if everything's okay. But we're watching Lando come through, we're watching Kimi come through from the front view, and then you see Oscar sliding around backwards in the back. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
I mean, we did get a potential new name for the podcast during all of this CSI Investigates, where they were talking about, you don't want to be over there on the wetter side of the track. Okay. New podcast name incoming. Anyway, then we finally got the restart coming, and because of the monsoon that had come down, the conditions were so bad, there was no way we could copy the beginning and do a standing start. We had to do a rolling start because of all of that.
Wait,
no, hang on. No rain.
News just coming into my ear now. It didn't rain at all since the first standing start.
So if anything, the track got prior because no more rain had come down,
Right.
but it was deemed dangerous enough for a rolling start,
Right.
which was just stupid. But
I think it was a timing issue, if I'm being completely honest, because with a standing start, you need the formation lap. And so if you do that, they had a 3-hour window until Qualy, and they were already getting close to it because of the red flag. So I think they were like trying to get this thing going as fast as possible so that the 3-hour delta between race end, sprint race end, and Qualy could exist. And if they did a standing start, it was just purely going into delaying Qualy. That's my hypothetical opinion.
and then we had the restart where we got some almost drama. Max, I don't know if this is your reference to the save earlier on, but Max had cat-like reflexes to avoid crashing into the back of who was
George.
it? George.
George was trying to
went,
go around.
Somebody went to the right and almost
Yes.
collected someone else. There was like almost carnage everywhere.
It was George. He was trying to go on the outside of Kimi into one, and then was going for the switcheroo. So I don't know if he hit his brakes per se, but he definitely went right behind him. And as he did that, he changed angle towards the corner, and Max was taking that spot that George just took. So Max had to bail out to the right, and that was for me the beginning of just one of the greatest weekends of driving we've seen from a driver in the last year. And I'm saying year for a reason. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, I think we're going to disagree massively in a minute as well. Right, so then we had DRS they enabled straight away because why not? Because it could have been a
Well,
could
it
have been a
was
proper
too wet
restart
for
anyway.
a rolling for a standing start, so we'll do rolling start and then DRS, of course.
Ferrari just Ferrari'd it. They really needed to get past Alonso if they were going to go on and try and catch Max, but they just sat behind. I mean, Alonso's just brilliant at making his car 3 times as wide, and he took some great defensive positions. There was one down at turn 4 where Charles was going to go have a little bit of a nibble, and Alonso was like, "I don't think so, fella." It was just really good driving from Fernando, to be honest.
It was,
and it was just the beginning of it that I thought Ferrari haven't got the pace this weekend. I'm not sure we're going to see much of them. And then after we've watched Charles try to get Alonso for about 2,000 years, all of a sudden the timing board on the left-hand side shows the 2 switch because, yep, we went and looked at something else for a minute at the exact moment that Charles put the move on. So this was number 1 of TV direction this weekend. It wasn't as bad as the one where we made the TV direction our Pits Award.
Not that bad.
But it was challenging for the title at a couple of places.
It most certainly was. And that is the kicker. It's like, inside the production truck, they're sitting there watching it and like, camera 3, we're going to go to this. We're going to follow Charles and Fernando for a while. And they followed it and followed it and followed it and followed it and followed it. And then they gave up on it, and then it happened. we just missed it. We invested so much time and got nothing.
I know. And then the one that we were lucky to kind of see it, but we didn't see it, and then we saw it in the replay, was we were on board, I think, with Hadjar, and all of a sudden we saw a flash of green on the right-hand side just disintegrate into pieces, and we're like, what the hell was that? And what the hell was that? Well, that was Gabby Bortoletto, his home Grand Prix, proving without a shadow of a doubt that every piece of carbon fibre on an F1 car is designed to disintegrate and crumple. Because boy, did he make sure he took every piece of carbon fibre off that car.
At first, we really didn't see how bad it was, and we saw the "I'm okay" message pop up, which made me feel good.
Yeah.
And then we saw the crash on replay, and I was so happy to have already known that Gabby was okay, because that was a humongous mess. And he lost control behind Alex, and he bounces to the left, hits the end of the pit straight wall on the left side, the inside. Alex is braking for the corner, and now he goes flying in front of Alex. The physics of passing someone out of control
while crashing.
Like while crashing off a wall, and then he went airborne because of the lip of the track. And at that point, I'm like, oh my God, no. And I was so happy he was all right. I did not expect them to have any semblance of a car for Qualy, which they did, but couldn't get out. And I didn't expect him to be ready to run Qualy, and he was in the car ready to go. So I'm so happy he was all right.
Ringing endorsement of the safety measures in F1 these days. And because, I'm making a bit of a joke of it there, but it's true. The way that they're designed is that the survival cell in the middle bit is the bit that stays intact, and everything else is designed to crumple to pieces, which gives some phenomenally horrific looking crashes because everything disintegrates and goes everywhere. So everything did its job. He was fine, but yeah.
I thought the race was the sprint race a bit of a slow burner. All that time waiting for Charles to take Fernando, we didn't see a lot. We did not mention the gas man taking Lance for 8th to get a point. I loved that.
Yep.
But as you look at the whole thing, I didn't think the race was that great. And the big deal for me was on lap 3 when Oscar went out. How can you be 1 point down now? You'd been leading for 15 races. You need points. And I recognize it was a fluke thing, but we're on like 7 races of fluke things in a row. Eventually, they aren't fluke things anymore.
Yeah, no, agree. So what that meant was Lando wins it, takes home the 8 points. Kimi from George, from Max, from Charles. Oh, maybe Ferrari are going to be all right this weekend in 5th. Fernando down in 6th. Lewis, oh yeah, 2 Ferraris in the points. Okay, Ferrari are looking up. It's all going to be good. And the gas man takes the last point. So that was that. And on we went to Qualy, where the weekend just decided to throw up another complete curveball.
So confused.
So Gabby doesn't take part. They didn't get the car ready in time, like Brian just said.
It was close, though. He was strapped in and it was getting close.
It was close. Yuki, bless him, like Paul just said, wish he was better, but he just doesn't seem to make it work. Down in 19th. Colapinto down in 18th. Esti Besti, we just talked about that at Haas. Where did the pace go? Down in 17th. And somebody called Max Verstappen in 16th.
Never heard of him. Is he new to the grid?
I don't know, but that car was an absolute dog to drive. And he couldn't get any balance, any pace, just awful. I can't remember. I don't know if you got SAP stats for it, but the last time that the Red Bulls went out in Q1, but very long time.
Very long time.
So that kind of opened up the field now for the McLarens because, well, come on, let's get the job done and get through in Q2 because Max is right down the bottom. He's not going to score any points this weekend based on that. And then we get Fernando. So Fernando in 11th. So the sprint quali didn't repeat in quali. Albon, Hamilton.
Again for Q2. SQ2 and Q2.
Aston get their second car out and Stroll, and Williams get their second out. So neither a Williams or an Aston made it through to Q3, despite the fact they looked okay in the sprint and the sprint quali. But those guys aren't going to be coming back, and we're not going to be talking about them in the race.
Speaking of similarities, right? We lose Lewis in Q2 in both. We then go into the final part for Q3, and I'm going to cut to the end. Lando just looked like he was on a mission.
On rails.
Whenever he had problems throughout quali where he didn't get a good lap in at the beginning of a session, and he went out and there was a lot of jeopardy, he just put on just purple, purple, purple. It felt like every time you saw Lando going around, it was almost always purple sectors, which was amazing. And Kimi, once again, is like, you know what? I kind of like this whole start and second thing. I fancy doing it in the Grand Prix. And the surprise to me wasn't that Oscar was in 4th. I expected him to do pretty well. It was that Charles was in 3rd.
Yes,
Where
my
in
hopes are right back up here at this point.
Mine too. Not just because he's newly engaged. Congratulations, Charles. But I was shocked by that. And then the part that I loved, in all of Quali, the real Quali, you had Isaac in the Racing Bull. You had Liam in the Racing Bull. You had Ollie Behrman putting in top times in Q1 and Q2 and for a while in Q3 in that Haas. The gas man driving what can charitably be described as a piece of junk. And he's pushing that Alpine, which hasn't had an upgrade since 2004. He's pushing that thing into places it should not be. I love the gas man's resurgence here. He'd been a down dog for a while. He'd been sitting there crying in his beer for races upon races, and I don't know what woke him up, but I'm happy he's back.
Oh, agree. So I think we need to get into the race review, but there's one thing standing between us and a race view, and I believe it's a second helping of beef.
Hey now, and it is Saturday, and it's the second beefing, and that was the sprint race and qualifying, and yeah, we like Brazil because there's always something goes on, isn't there? I think that's fair to say, and I think as we've seen today, it's very good, very good, very good. Right, sprint race. Let's get straight to it. Yeah, I mean, I sort of like, I was quite disappointed at the start because I thought there'd be more of a challenge, but the weather conditions were never what we thought they were going to be, as I've mentioned. So, but the track was still a little bit damp, a little bit tricky, so I sort of like, yeah, I could forgive that. There was a bit of water around, and then as we saw from the water very quickly with Oscar. Oh God, who was the other one? Sober. Oh God, I forgot Sober actually had two big crashes that day. Yeah, Hulkenberg, fair play. God, I just realised that they had two decent ones, and then Colapinto, which okay.
Still
So
counts.
yeah, I mean that was a bit weird. Some people were suggesting that Lando did it on purpose to put water on the track. Not for me. I just don't think why you would.
I don't know how you could.
It's impossible.
Interesting though, interesting point of view. And if he did, fair play, like whatever. I don't think you can say that's cheating or whatever.
He
I think
races
that would be
oil slick.
completely fine to suggest that was even something you could do to be brave. Fair play. I don't have an issue. Then obviously we had a bit of a red flag for the three crashes. So we had the usual tyre change that we can do, but instead of actually being really boring from that point, it's actually quite exciting because then Lando went on to softs, which I thought was a bit ambitious, but okay, just for the drop off and XYZ. But it worked out. I mean, don't get me wrong, now it was close at the end. Kimi just didn't quite have enough to get by, but yeah, good sprint race. Lewis Hamilton again. Oh, sorry, very tired. Lewis Hamilton again. Great start. He always likes Brazil.
He's a citizen.
Which is amazing. Look at it. What actually
He ain't
goes
gonna
on
like
in a
Sunday.
couple of hours' time. So yeah, anyway, very good. Qualifying. No, let's just talk about Bortoleto. That's a huge accident. Massive accident, that is. And the fact that I'm going to quickly rush on to qualifying, the fact they nearly got him out for qualifying, I can tell you now is an achievement like you will never believe. Now, there is an extended gap between sprint race and the actual qualifying. It's not like a normal FP3 then qualifying. So if you're thinking like, well, people crash in FP3 then don't get their car ready for qualifying, there is a longer time. Either way, the scale of what they had to do, I would imagine it would be a chassis change. I can't see how it wouldn't be. So to actually get all that done is insane. And with a chassis change, like a requirement by the FAA, which I never really understand, if I've got to be honest, is that the chassis is going to be virtually bare. So no you're allowed a few of the what we call internals in, but you're not allowed to like have a suspension build upon it, which I'm going to go. I find quite strange. But okay, look, that's life. Yeah, but anyway, fair play. Then qualifying, Red Bull. I think what compounds it, and I don't want to skip over sessions here, but the fact that both RBs are so highly placed, and then this is no different, I guess, from McLaren, obviously beating Mercedes. So it's not that big a deal. But for Max to be down there. Yuki, which we kind of expect anyway, it's just bonkers, wasn't it? And then Lewis again, don't really know. I don't know. Everyone seemed to be struggling. I mean, you heard George moaning about grip and not getting the right grip. The one thing I did notice during qualifying, just being there, was how much the temperature was fluctuating. Like you go out 1 minute and it was really warm, and the next minute really cold, and it's really hard to judge in what we call the paddock because there's a huge canvas roof covering it, so you don't actually know what the weather conditions are for most of the time you're there. But and then really, like I say, you've then got, you got the usual, Lando superb, excellent out by Kimi. Congratulations to him. He's really rubbing our face in it, isn't he? And then, and then on Oscar again, it's slipping away, isn't it? It's slipping away.
It is.
But Actually, I've got to get a flight home shortly. So this being the second beef thing, the third beef thing will probably be while eating roast beef back in England, which will be obscure.
Nice.
But I will see you and speak to you then. I won't see you, obviously, because it's a podcast, and I'm not stupid enough to not realise how podcasts work. Although sometimes they record video, but I'm not actually recording this as a video, so still I won't see you. Then obviously, the purpose of a video, if I'm recording it, is like I'm looking at no one. You'd all be looking at me, so I can't say I'd see you because I wouldn't see you. You'd see me, I just wouldn't see you. Technology.
I love those. And I know he's doing it on purpose. I'm not daft, but I love when Paul gets hypothetically serious and metaphysically confused. Okay. Sunday was race day, and I have to start with a story. So I was going up to visit my father, and I left about 6 a.m. so I could get there in time, and I won't belabor why I was going a little earlier and then normal and yada, yada, yada. I said I'm going to stop and I'm going to grab a little McDonald's breakfast. I'm not normally a McDonald's person. It's not really my jam all the time, but the breakfast is solid. And if you can get yourself a McMuffin, you're doing something good on a Sunday morning with a giant Diet Coke at 6 a.m. That's the way America works. And so I got on the highway and I'm thinking to myself, I got to kind of cannonball run this thing because I was already a little late. And then I stopped for McDonald's, which I checked was a 6-minute detour. And so I'm thinking, all right, here we go. And it's snowing. It had snowed pretty heavily in Chicago, and I'm getting out of there, and it's still kind of sleeting. And I'm in traffic on the expressway. So I'm on a highway, as you may, and I'm going 80 miles an hour, and I have cruise set at 82. And there's a car next to me I'm passing. I'm in the second to left lane. There's a car in the second to right lane. They're going about 75. We're all at about 75 miles an hour. There's a gentle left turn to the expressway. And I notice a car facing the wrong way on the right side wall, like on the barrier, that had been in an accident and was still there and had no snow on it. And I'm like, uh-oh. And as I'm watching that, my car starts to spin. I'm going 82 miles an hour, and the rear of my car comes out. A lot of poo came out at the same time. And so
oh my gosh.
I am facing the left wall. The rear came out because it's a gentle left turn. The rear comes out. I did not do a full 360. I am facing maybe 45, 50 some degrees towards the corner. So I'm not 90 degrees to it. I'm not facing the wall, like the left wall.
So you're just drifting around the corner at this point, Tokyo
At
Drift
80
style.
miles an hour in traffic on the expressway. I'm like, I'm in deep stuff here, man. And so I am gently braking. I'm not trying to create a worse spin. Like I'm just tapping the brake. I'm off the gas, of course. And I'm trying to turn right, praying for any kind of traction. And the spin is getting worse. I'm like, oh, I'm in deep stuff. This is really going to end poorly. And I get enough traction. I start facing towards the road again, towards forward. But it overcorrects and the rear spins. And now I'm facing where that car is on the right side.
Oh my gosh.
And there are people behind me who are backing off. They're watching this happen to me. And I don't know where they are at this point. I'll figure this out at the end. And now I'm going across the expressway towards this car, towards the barrier that they hit. Now I've passed them at this point. So I won't hit the other car, but I'm going to hit the wall, and it's going to be big. And I'm maybe going 60 at this point because you can't slam the brakes. It's just going to you'll spin like a top. And so I'm heading towards it. And the squealing from my tires, now that I've left the ice patch, is unbelievable. Like, it's the sound of any crash in F1 and TV shows. It is that squealing sound followed by the unmistakable crumpling of someone's hopes and dreams in car. And so I'm going right at the wall. And I'm not trying to overcorrect, and I know that just slamming the brakes ain't going to work. So I'm feathering the brakes. I'm turning left now to get it back towards the road. And I get to the last lane, the far right lane, there are 4 lanes. I get to the 4th lane, and I get some control, and the rear snaps around again, and I'm now facing loosely towards the road, but back towards the left side, the fast lane. But I'm down to about 30 or 35 miles an hour. I'm able to correct it and face straight, and I just start coasting forward at 25 miles an hour after going left to right, no control on the expressway. And it was so violent, the way the rear kept coming around. All of the stuff that was on my passenger seat was on the floor. It had made its way
the
off.
muffin.
I'd already eaten that. And so,
okay.
but like my hat, my winter hat, and my gloves and stuff from like getting the car scraped off, all on the floor because at some point they'd all gone up in the air as this thing was happening. I was so shaken by this. I just coasted at 30 miles an hour on the expressway. Not a single car even caught up to me because they saw this happen to me behind me, and they all backed off. And so, like, apparently there was another car in the I passed another one, so two on the right in the ditch, one in the ditch, one on the wall, and then one on the hazards on the left. I don't know how I recovered it. I've never seen anything like this on the expressway where someone saves it. I'm not going to say it's because I'm talented. I'm going to say I got lucky because that's what happened.
Max Verstappen.
At that point, oh my God, I'm like, I don't know if I'm making a time for the race. I don't really care. I'm pretty sure I flat spotted all 4 of my tires, and my alignment is way out of whack, and I got to get it fixed. I haven't been home since. I've been on the road. Now I'm in a second city. But man, the fact that I survived it, and that more importantly, I think I would have been fine. I mean, I would have been injured in the first one if I'd hit the wall. The second one, I probably would have been okay.
So
but the car, it's just unbelievable.
Time out on this.
Yeah.
So
That's why I texted you. Are you awake?
This is the first. Yeah. This is the first time hearing it, right? And
Yeah.
just for everyone, this is how just nonchalant after that story is just unfolded. I get a text message at 8:15 on Sunday morning. You awake? And I said, "Yep, it's half time here." And I
It
sent
took
him
a little while.
picture
I
of
didn't want to bother you at that point. You were playing
I
soccer.
sent him a picture of the football field that I was on and said, "But I'll be back in the car in about 30 minutes if you want." He said, "Oh yeah, I had a story for you, but I'll save it until the pod. Nothing major. Just had a little story for you." Oh my God, Brian, you almost died.
I mean, I think I would have survived the first crash into the left wall. I would have been hurt. The second crash into the right wall, I would have been okay because I was down to probably 60 or 50 at that point. The fact I saved it and the violent squealing of the tires was just miraculous. And like the trucks behind me, I mean, it was wild. Anyway, and I didn't know where anyone else was. I'm like, I can't worry about you guys. I'm just trying to keep this thing from going around like a top and then me being out of here. Anyway, that's my story. That's how my Sunday started.
Yeah, now we've got to review a race, which doesn't really seem very exciting. No?
I mean,
but,
anyway. So
and here's the first part of my rant.
Yes.
First part of my rant. Because I think, based on what you said earlier on, we're going to disagree when we get to this point later. But Max starts from the pits.
Yes.
Because after having such an awful qualifying, he changes his engine and his floor.
Good strategy.
Which I want the rule changed because it ruins a race now. Because it's just too overpowering, and we'll get there. He's going to go on and do an amazing drive, don't get me wrong, but we'll come back to this later. So Ocon and Max start from the pits after, I don't know, it just goes against it. Park Firm is there for a reason. If you screw up and you get your setup wrong, you should have to deal with it for the race, not be able to take a free pass and just change everything and go, oh, I'll just break Park Firm and start from the pit lane. It's just I don't like it.
What if you
like
crash in Qualy and you need to change bits? And you would take the penalty. So, for example, remember when Leclerc in Monaco, when he was P1, and then he hit the wall at the end of Quali, and it stopped Quali, so no one, like Max, couldn't take pole.
Yeah, I know.
But they were afraid to touch the gearbox because he would have dropped back.
It's the whole thing about like changing tires under red flags. Loads of people would like to stop it, but unfortunately, you get that whole. What if you got a puncture that caused the red flag? You're supposed to drive around with no tires on. It's so look, there's a counter to all of it. It just doesn't sit well with me. I don't like it.
I enjoyed it. It was the Lewis Hamilton Brazil 2021 engine overcut. Back again.
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
All right.
So we get red and yellow. It's like Skittles. Lemon and strawberry or whatever it is, up and down the grid. Everyone's kind of decided what they're going to be on, whether it's medium or softs. Apart from Max and Ocon that start from the pits and want to do a long run, so they start on the hards. We get something we didn't see a lot last year, but he's nailed it so much more this year. Fantastic start from Lando, even though Kim is on the softs and should be able to get the better launch and go at him for turn one. Nope, Lando's probably going to curse him now, but Lando's homing in on this title and seems to have taken last year's sort of people say he collapsed a little bit or he choked under the pressure. Whatever's true, whatever happened to him last year, he's taken that, he's learnt from it and said, that's not happening again this year.
He has not made a mistake in quite some time that I can remember.
Really hasn't. Brilliant start. And then the first thing we see is poor old Gabby at his home Grand Prix. It's like nowhere near as spectacular a crash, but
thankfully
still 100% out.
Oh, I saw it, and I'm like, I could have saved that.
Then we see Then we see Lewis dragging his front wing under his car, so we all assume he must have hit Gabby because we've all put 2 and 2 together and come up with 10 because we haven't seen any replays at this point. And then it starts to filter through, and we see he screwed up. He went to do a switcheroo on the main straight behind the Alpine and just misjudged and came across, slipped the back of the Alpine, took his wing under the car, and took my hopes and dreams of a third place podium prediction with it. And that was really the end of Lewis's race. It's going to be a while till we get to him retiring, but it was
done.
there.
Yeah, and he wanted to retire too. When he went back out after about 2 laps, when they fixed his car, he's like, "Yeah, the car's broken. I can't do any more than this." And then they're like, "We'll change tires." He's like, "No, you don't understand. I'm looking to retire. I'm in the retire the car line at the DMV, and you're trying to get me back out on fresh tires. That's not what I'm looking to do. I'm trying to get out of here, baby." But they put him back out.
And then Crofty might know his F1, but he doesn't know his car badges. Gabby was getting into an SUV that had 3 little diamonds on the front, which is the same as the car my wife drives, so I know it's a Mitsubishi, is the little 3 diamonds. And Crofty says, well, something along the line, that's not the car he wants to be getting into, but he's going to have to get into that Toyota and go back to the paddock. I was like, it's not a Toyota, Crofty, but there we go. That was all we had while we were waiting for the safety car to end. It ended. Oh, boy. We didn't have drama at T1 at the start of the race, so it decided to come back with a vengeance at the restart.
Now, again, it was a safety car, so it wasn't a red flag. So they're rolling through. Lando starts kind of late. Everybody gets a little closer to each other. Maybe not as much Lando, but to second. And we got Kimi, we got Oscar, and we got Charles. And they're all kind of coming together at T1. And Rob, I really would like your opinion on this. I watched it. I was watching it with my dad. I'd made it in time to watch the race, changed my underwear, having a good time. And so as we're watching the corner come up, Kimi is taking sort of the racing line, but he's leaving space, I thought, leaving space for Oscar. Charles on the outside. And Oscar comes in and locks up. And I got in a heavy debate with some people about this. They said no penalty. And I said, you can't come in like Stevie Wonder to a corner and escape with no penalty. And they said, but it didn't force him away from the apex. I said, whatever. His line was bad. He locked up and was out of control. You're going to get the penalty every single time. Yeah. You cannot go into a corner out of control and hit somebody and then say it's not my fault. It's always your fault.
And even if you make the apex, I think, and allegedly it's your corner, if you've come in too fast and you lock up because you're going too quick to be able to make the rest of the corner, I think they still give it, even if you've got alongside, because the only way you could get alongside is by being too fast and out of control.
Agreed. And like, now, I know
it wasn't a ridiculous out of control.
No.
But so if we kind of reverse all this off, Lando took forever to get going, and then when he finally did, Kimi fell asleep and didn't notice him going.
Right.
And Kimi's slow reaction kind of causes all this. Not his fault, but if we domino effect it,
yeah,
Kimi's slow getting away. Oscar's eyes light up like a Christmas tree because now he can see the inside line to T1, so thinks this is my chance to go. Because Charles, for some reason, is hanging way out on the right-hand side going, I don't want any of this T1 drama. I'm going to play it sensible and go around the outside of
I would take the longest possible route around turn 1.
Longest possible, nothing bad can happen to me out there. Oscar goes flying up the inside. You've got to go for a corner. I totally know why Oscar goes for it, but he's carrying just a smidge too much pace because if he's going a little bit slower, maybe those tyres bite just like yours did and correct the spin.
Maybe.
And he makes that first corner and maybe has enough room to get through on Kimi. That's all ifs and maybes. That's not what happened. He had too much pace. He locked up. Agreed. He drifted into Kimi. He caused the collision. That's called a penalty. Domino effect, Kimi goes out to his right, and who does he find out there minding his own business? Oh my gosh.
Charles Chuck Leclerc.
And
then the wheel pops off, and my dad's watching this. He goes, do the wheels always pop off like that? I'm like, not really. Although more recently it feels like. So, the thing that to me was amazing was that Kimi didn't have massive damage and was able to recover his own car because he went into Charles not sideways. He was like his rear came out as Oscar hit him, and I think if Charles wasn't there, Kimi probably spins. But somehow he bounced off the Ferrari, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm all right. I'll just keep going." To my friends Adam and Paul, I disagree. I'm happy Oscar got the penalty. I thought he deserved it.
He did. He did deserve it because you can't do that. And if it had been, I know everybody wants Piastri to come back into the title, and people are big fans of his. But let's just say that was Max up the inside of Lando, there would have been all hell to pay, and everybody would have said elbows out
Max
again.
on the inside of George, we would have said it was
Yeah,
attempted
yeah,
murder.
exactly. So gutted for Charles. Max got a puncher in all of that, a slow puncher, and actually it was a blessing in disguise because he gets rid of the hards, which were terrible, which he wouldn't have done. So there's another big sliding doors moment. If he stays out on those hards, I also don't see I don't think we see the drive that we're about to see.
The other reason I thought Oscar had to get the penalty, he was fourth at the restart, and because he hit Kimi into Charles, he was then second. He was right behind Lando. He should not have been second. He shouldn't have gained because of what happened.
I don't think the gaining an advantage is part of the penalty. There was
I know,
the track,
but
which he didn't. So
in nature, he should not have been second on the road.
No, true, but like you always say, you can't make the outcome define the penalty. So
correct, it's an old hockey thing.
It is. So then we had Oscar behind Lando, and were we going to see Oscar hunt him down, go past him, and try and kind of well, he didn't know he was going to get the 10 seconds yet, but would we see some kind of big kind of battle between these two? No, Lando almost immediately broke out of DRS, and he will not look back or ever see Oscar in his wing mirrors ever again.
We didn't see much of Lando after that point.
Nope. Lap 9, that was kind of it. We had Hamilton was chasing Colapinto with his broken car, but Max was coming right up behind him. We had Russell getting Hadjar for fourth, and then Yuki getting 10-second penalty for something we hadn't even seen at this point, I don't think.
I hadn't seen it, but he literally was the definition of Stevie wandering into a corner. He went down the inside. It was on the inner part of the track. He goes down the inside, passes like 2 or 3 cars, and he did the video game move. He's like, I'm not going to be able to stop this in time. I'll just bounce off the car to my left. No, you can't do that. And so it was he definitely had the first car, but he went too far to try to get a second car doing it. And then Ollie, man, he had a great move on Lawson at turn 1. It was an amazing move. Ollie had been on fire at this point for Qualy and the sprint race. I absolutely loved it. I loved watching him drive. I loved the confidence he had out there. I love the fact that he passed Liam and no one hit each other. I thought it was great.
Oliver!
And then, just because I know I'm going to sound like a Grinch later on, when I don't give Max the credit you probably do, at least I did say it at lap 16 as I look back at the notes here, right? You said Max is looking feisty because even with the puncher and the stop, he's already up to 12th. And I said, yeah, but he has a new engine and a floor, although I didn't write it here, and an overpowered DRS that we'll come back to in a minute. So I said, so he should easily slice up and get a sniff of the podium, I think. So it was just transpiring here, and I think we both do agree on this later on in the notes, is that we've seen DRS be a bit rubbish recently, and it hasn't actually given people enough. It's like we've been talking about on some tracks. I think they need to extend it by 75 meters because no one's getting into the braking zone to even have a go. It's pointless. Well, unfortunately, we had the opposite here. I love Brazil. I really do. This whole race, if we take out a handful of overtakes, almost every single overtake was an easy breeze by up the back straight. Not T1, like midway, maybe even before they went over the start-finish straight. If you came out of the back corner and powered up the hill and DRS flap came open, it was uncontested. There was nothing the other car could do about it. And I hate those overtakes. And that's all we really had.
And you and I talked about this. If it wasn't last week, it was recently. Tracks that have good endings before the start-finish straight, where you can bring drama to the start-finish line. And Mexico has none of that. We saw what happened. Once you get to the stadium section, the race is done. Like you're in first. Second, who's ever behind you is going to be behind you at the line. So, in that case, Charles holding off Max and Ollie for Oscar. But here, I love turn 12 onward. And we talked about in the preview, if you nail that right and the person in front of you isn't perfect, the run is long enough and fast enough, and the DRS is normally just powerful enough where you arrive into turn 1 and you have to make a decision. Am I going on the inside?
Yes.
Do I think the outside might work? And if I can hold it, we can switcheroo it or whatever we're doing here. It was so powerful. I don't know if it was the wind. I don't know if they elongated it. But to your point, you didn't have to be perfect coming out of 12. You just needed to be close enough. You needed to have DRS, and the pass was done before turn 1, which is super disappointing.
Yeah, and I think because when you take a brand new engine and go back to a floor that really made that Red Bull come alive, and you overpower the DRS, as right, maybe we'll say it now. I think there are only 4 other cars / drivers on the grid that could have done what Max did this weekend. I think if you have a really fast car with an overpowered DRS, so you can spend most of your lap getting close, ready for turn 12, and then just breeze by on the straight. If you start at the back of the grid, if either of the McLarens had started there, or based on this weekend, maybe either of the Mercedes, if they'd got engine overload plus overpowered DRS, I think you'd seen all 4 of those cars slice through the field like there was nothing to it.
I still
Max
disagree.
very quickly. Max didn't have to do any legendary passing like we saw it last year for me in the rain. Is so far ahead of this one because that was just epic drive for Max last year. But I didn't see any special Max overtake that he needed to do this year. He just literally was so much faster than everybody else. Go around, bide my time, get to the back straight, past you. It was a brilliant drive, but I think it's not as generational as everyone's making it out this weekend.
That's fair. You know what? That is fair. It is more Lewis Brazil 21 engine overcut versus Max 24 rain.
Oh my
Maestro.
God! Last year was one of the best things I've ever seen.
I agree.
Absolute genius.
You know what?
So
That's fair.
I'm not belittling Max at all. I just. Yeah.
And I'm the guy who was on this is a all-time resume builder for Max builder. It's on page 47. He's so good.
He still had to do it, right?
He did, and that's the thing. When you say
if one of the Williams had a new engine, I don't think they could have done it. I think you had to have I don't even think one of the Ferraris could have done it this year. They're not fast enough.
But even if you take someone and put them in the Red Bull, and let's assume they knew how to drive the undrivable car, if you did that, I still think less than half the drivers can do that. And I know you're saying they're all turn 1 overtakes, and yeah, maybe that's right. But I feel like there are so many drivers who aren't good at working their way through traffic. But maybe you're right. It was turn 1 DRS overtake. So maybe that does devalue it enough where it's not quite as cool as I'm giving it credit for. When I saw Driver of the Day was only 50% Max, I'm like, what's wrong with the other 50% of the people watching? But you're probably right. So you know what? Let's agree on this. DRS was too strong because of the weather, because of the way it was set up, whatever.
Yeah.
Max's drive was great, but maybe not quite as generational as people are saying, and definitely not. And this I agreed with immediately. Definitely not as good as last year's rain.
Last year, I'm not even sure I've seen in probably in my lifetime. Maybe if you go back to say a Schumacher in Spain or something, but you only see a drive like that once every decade.
You won me over, Vale. You won me over.
Woohoo! Well, what didn't win people over was that Oscar finally got his news about his 10-second penalty, and people started doing their first round of boxing. So we kind of now had Max kind of up at 4th because of all the higher offset-y type thing. People had boxed and he'd boxed really early. It's like, well, where is he going to finish? And me and Brian were having this discussion. I was like, I think a podium's still on. I think he's once he's got past all the slower, inverted commas, cars, I think he'll find it difficult to go after the rest. But podium's got to be on. But at this point, the main thing was damage limitation. We're at lap 24, and it's like, Oscar Piastri, what are you going to do? Are you going to run as long as possible and then maybe have real high tire offset at the end on super fast softs and see what you can do? Or are you going to kind of, pit now? And I honestly thought he was going to extend. And I think I hadn't hardly finished writing my notes and he pitted. It was like, okay. I guess that's that then. We then got lap 28. We'd already seen it a few times. But Isaac and Pierre they were just in a never-ending battle. Every time we went to one of those two cars, it was one of them passing the other or then getting them back again. It was just brilliant.
And wait, they had some non-turn 1 DRS overtakes. They had some in the infield as well. I think they had a couple into 4 down that side straight there, and then a couple on the infield. And the two French buddies, I know they're different ages. I don't know if they're actually buddies. They were fighting for 12th. And that's how I want drivers to fight for 12th place. Cleanly, nonstop, and in a way that makes me smile every time they cut to them. And when they're in the little box, I would stand up and walk up there. I'm like, what are they doing? Then they put them back in the big box. I'm like, oh, they're going back and forth again. Forever. Love it.
Yeah, and then we had Kimi had come out. He dropped back after he'd pitted, but he was then easily kind of slicing his way back through again. Lando pitted on 31 and came out on softs behind Max. But then pretty much easily gobbled him up a couple of laps later. Max New's fight wasn't with Lando at this point.
Not
Even
at
if he
that
was going to
point.
come into contention later,
Right.
he's like, no point doing it now. And actually, it was here. Sorry, we're coming up to shortly when I think Oscar actually pits. But just before then, we had, this is one of your favourites. Yuki served his 10-second penalty. Only he didn't.
They touch the car, and you know what you get? Another 10-second penalty. It's like Carlos in Mexico with the pit lane limiter. Whenever Esty has done this many times, where you just get penalties for penalties, and then you go serve penalties, and you get the penalty serving wrong, and you serve another penalty for the penalty, which was a penalty, and like, oh my God, it's just the universe collapses on itself, and I just can't laugh hard enough at them serving penalties for incorrectly serving penalties for other penalties.
And I wasn't laughing on lap 38, where Lewis finally got told to do what we all knew we probably should have done after about lap 5.
And
I guess maybe they were hoping for a red flag or something.
Hadn't
but...
he collected a 5-second penalty as well?
Oh, I don't know. There
And
were
they'd
penalties
served
flying
it, so
around all
hopefully
over
it
the
doesn't
place,
carry
but-
over. Yeah.
So that's when Oscar came in to serve his penalty. We were wondering whether Lando could make it to the end. There was quite is Lando like really home and dry here? He's kind of got a pit stop in the bag maybe, or can he make this last? We're not quite sure. Everyone's obsessed with his slow pace on softs. Is that because the car isn't good all of a sudden, or is he just tire managing the softs to the end? We really didn't know. But what we did know is, as you noticed, that quietly, without anyone noticing, Mr. Behrman had snuck his way up to 4th at this point.
And had boxed. Now, I couldn't remember when, because I couldn't remember exactly when he'd boxed, but I'm sitting and I'm not just saying this because I'd once predicted Haas to finish 5th. I'm not saying it for that reason. I love watching Ollie drive at this point. The confidence he's driving with, he runs clean. He was, if you remember at the beginning of the year, China and some other races, he made some rookie mistakes. He was trying too hard. And he would try to get his elbows out, and he just did stuff that was rookie-ish. That guy is gone. And the pace we saw when he sat in for Carlos at Ferrari after the appendix at Saudi, that pace is real. And watching him run, I'm happy where we had him in our rookie rankings, because I think he is, for everything that Kimi proves us wrong for not having him in our top 2, Ollie proves us right for having him in our top 2.
Agree. And he got screwed a little bit when he did his stop then, 43, a 3.9 second stop. It's like, oh man, he battled so hard to get, and then we lose it. We then saw another Gasly Hadjar fight on board. It was just fantastic. But, if we just, I put this note in here because I was like, well, hang on a minute. I know I'm saying that Max had got it easy with his engine, but Ocon had a new engine as well from the pit lane in his car. He made up 13 places at this point as well. Yeah. So, we're saying, could another driver have done it? Well, maybe not to the same degree, but Ocon was up 13 spots at this point. So, as we were heading kind of into the last 25 laps-ish, we still had no idea what was going on with Lando's strategy. It was like,
Right. Is he going to make these softs last to the end? Can Oscar, because he came in slightly later, but that's a long stint on softs. However, McLarens are gentler on their tires, the lower fuel at this point. So I'm sitting there doing my Zach Galifianakis calculations of numbers flying around, and of course it didn't even come close to being a thing. And then we got some of my favorite team radio. There was a lot of good team radio. Max was angry at some points, and GP was telling him what to do to fix it and take it or leave it kind of situations. And then Isaac's team radio comes over telling him where other people are and what he can do in a very controlled, normal fashion. And Isaac didn't like the tone. Please don't shout at me. Thank you. Goodbye. And I'm like, whoa, what? He wasn't. And Isaac's famous in F2, if anyone ever watched him in F2 or his team radio then, for being a hothead on his team radio, freaking out, just losing all control. Maybe the shorter the driver, the angrier team radio, because Yuki, the same thing. Like, the shortest drivers have the angriest team radio. That said, don't shout at me? What? It was pure comedy. I loved it. Don't change, Isaac. We love you. Don't change.
And then if Brazil just wanted to carry up serving up random things, all of a sudden the fastest lap indicator appeared next to Colapinto. I was like, they just broken the timing tower here. What the hell's that? Alpine's a tractor.
They did break the timing tower, because right around now, it's somewhere around here. Was it in the race, or was it?
No, it is. It's somewhere around now. We start getting like just all they show us is the total time to lead, and not the deltas between anybody, and a never-ending mini picture-in-picture of stuff we don't care about.
What? I could not it just made me so frustrated that they couldn't give us the interval, that instead it was the total time. And I'm trying to figure out who's close, who's not, where should we be watching. I normally scan down and look for anyone with a 0 in front. And what ends up happening at the end is the race finishes and there's a massive DRS train I had no idea was around. It was like an 8-car DRS train right across the start-finish line at the end of the race. I know I'm ahead, but we're not going to talk about it otherwise. And I'm like, oh, didn't know that existed. Thanks, timing board.
Yeah. And kind of around lap 50, we got a couple of things. We got Lando pitting, coming out onto use medium, so that answered that one. He wasn't going to go to the end on it. Oscar followed him in. They both did 2.2-second stops. And Ollie Behrman went past Hulk around a few corners and wheel-to-wheel racing. I mean, this was one of the overtakes where you could just take it and inject it into my veins because it was just great, close racing, and they almost took each other out. But I love to see those types of things. Then Stroll's pootling along and sees Hadjar go past him, what that meant was because Hadjar and Gasly were inseparable, that meant that Gasly went past Stroll about a nanosecond later as well. He's like, whoa, I can't be broken up from my buddy. Just...
How are we going to have any more battles if we're separated by Lance? Oscar was trying desperately to make things happen. He gets past Liam. He was not waiting for the straight. He did not wait for that. He got him in the back of the track. I loved it. George gets on the blower at 59. He's like, I've got brake problems. And at first he didn't say what was wrong. He said I'm having trouble. We thought it was about his tires. No, he's actually said he's having brake problems. Interestingly, I'm sure they gave him a new setting. We never heard about it again after that, and he was fine. But, yeah, I got to agree. Max kept passing people at this part. And as Max is coming up to George, Martin says, oh, Max is going to get past these back markers. That's George F. Russell, buddy. They're both on the lead lap. And Martin goes, oh, my mistake. Yeah, it's George. George!
And then he got George easily, and then he's coming up to Kimi. I was like, oh, please, come on. This is just getting silly now, these breeze-by overtakes. But at this point, just something nice happened where Tyre God smiled on us a little bit. Max's softs, because he'd put some softs on where it was probably a bit too long for the stint for softs, really, because GP had been on sort of saying, look, these are a bit brittle. We don't really know if they're going to last, but, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You might as well just go for it. Max was in full-on, I don't give a crap mode at this point. It's like, well, I just got to go for it. And fair play, he did. But Kimi came of age and just carried on rubbing our selection in our face from last week, and he fended Max off time after time. Like I say, I think the tyres were just going off a little bit, so he couldn't quite get the traction out of the final corner. Kimi had enough battery, he could out-drag him down, but there was enough times that Max was having a little look and a little nibble. I'm like, yes, this is what I want.
Yeah,
for literally 3 laps, the DRS was perfect.
Yeah, agreed. And it gave us, as you say, and he did not get him. Max did not get Kimi because he made his car wide enough. He charged his battery around the entire lap and used it on turn 12, so he could come out of there as fast as possible. And Max couldn't pass him. It was my favorite podium interview in a while because all 3 people loved being up there and in the spot they were in. Lando won. He was pleased that he won. It meant a lot for the championship. He had a great race. He didn't make a mistake in Qualy. He didn't make a mistake in the race. Lando just did his thing, and his thing was to win. Kimi finished his highest he's ever finished. Previous podium, Canada, 3rd. We saw it live and in person right in front of us. And now he's 2nd, and he was pleased with a great weekend. He started 2nd, finished 2nd, had a great sprint race, good qualies all around for Kimi. Great weekend for Kimi, and he was happy being up there. And that he fought off and fended off Max, played defense. And Max, starting in the pit lane, salvaged 3rd, a podium, points, a fun drive for him out of nothing. He was 16th in Quali. He takes the engine penalty, takes the engine overcut, starts from the pit lane, 1st in the pit lane, so I guess 19th because Esty was behind him. And look at Max go 3rd, and he was happy to be there too. So I thought that was fun. I thought it was a fun race. Yes, DRS was too strong.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
Max took the engine, but I thought it was a great race.
Yeah, and I felt a little bit sorry for Lando because I thought Lando had an absolutely brilliant weekend. Maybe he wasn't driver of the day, maybe he was driver of the weekend. If there can be 2 awards, Lando was driver of the weekend and Max was driver of the day. Like I say, don't get me wrong, Max to do what he did, and he made made everyone else look silly, to be honest, the way he sliced through them. It was just the manner in which it happened. I was a little bit kind of, oh, I wish he'd had to sort of fight for a few more of those. That DRS really bothered me on this one. But Kimi brilliant, George up there, Oscar down in fifth, watching that title slip away. I'm even starting to think, is second spot going to be Max at the way that we're going at the moment?
Yeah, we'll have to look at the scores in a second. But yeah,
I know Oscar's going to have to pull that out. We've got Ollie up in sixth, Liam in seventh, Isaac in eighth, Hulkenberg in ninth, and the Gasman getting another point, like he snuck into the final points on the sprint as well. So Gasman's had a fantastic weekend as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Should we do Kings of the Pits in the Pits to
Let's
close
do it.
the race? So I will open. I think we kind of just did King of the Pits, but let's officially make it official. Official miss. I mean, is it Max for driver of the day, Lando for driver of the weekend, Kimi for honorable mention for the weekend, and Ollie honorable mention for the weekend? I don't even know what to do with 4 amazing drives for almost the whole weekend for all of them.
So who are you going to give it to?
I'm giving it to Max. I'm sorry. I know I'm putting more stock in it than you, but I thought that was just an amazing drive.
Yeah, and I'm giving it to Max as well, because despite everything I've just said, I got no problem with the fact that he was driver of the day. I got no fact that he did it, and fair play to him in doing it. My debate is more with the people saying it's the best drive we've seen in forever, and they've all got recency bias and forgetting last year. Great drive. He still had to get it done, even though he had the engine and the DRS advantage. It's just a whatever you want to call it, a gnat's whisker between him and Lando. I mean, Lando was brilliant, didn't do anything wrong all weekend. Qualified first, finished first, almost got a Grand Slam, didn't quite. Leaves with the maximum points haul he can in the World Championship. So there's going to be more King of the Pits coming for him. So I give this one to Max just because, came from a long way back.
Love it. Let's talk about the pits. If I found it. There it is. Sorry for the delay.
You're the pits.
For me, it's Yuki F. Tsunoda. I know Max qualified poorly too for the race, and Yuki did, but he also did for the sprint worse than Max. And did you ever consider that Yuki should have taken the engine penalty and done the same thing? No. Would it have worked? Probably not. Sorry, we've been Yuki fans forever here. We're back into Checo territory, where it's like I don't expect anything anymore, and when they have poor qualies and it sets up a poor result, I just expect it at this point. So I'm sadly giving it to Yuki. Sorry, buddy.
I'm giving it to Oscar. Sorry, Oscar.
It's fair.
I absolutely love him. And I've flip-flopped back and forward, kind of like, who did I want to win the title? And I kind of did. I was really behind Oscar. But you said it in your preview of the week. He's lost his magic dust. And he really needed to nail this weekend and just screwed up.
Yeah.
Just screwed up big time. He's had the ability to just match Lando, and even if he did damage limitation and came home second in both races, he would have left being within touching distance. Now, like I say, I think Brazil is the weekend where it still feels too early to say Lando's won it, but has Oscar already lost it? Question.
Well, can we go slightly out of order? Since we've given our pits before we hear from Paul for Sunday, can we talk about where people are? Because you said, Did he lose it? In the driver championship, Lando's sitting on 390. Oscar behind him at 366, 24 points behind. And Max at 341, which is 49 points behind Lando. So I don't think Max... I saw someone do some analysis. If Max wins everything the rest of the way, Lando still needs like a DNF and some bad results.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think Max's title hopes, even though he had a great drive, he still finished third behind Lando, who won. And he still finished behind Lando in the sprint race. Lando won everything. So to me, I think Lando grabbed one hand on the trophy this weekend, and it's potentially Oscar coming at it. It's probably not Max, just mathematically. Can Oscar catch him? Can those 24 points show up? Yeah, it can happen, but not in the form they're in right now. So for me, that delta is enough where I think Lando wins it. Can Max catch Oscar for second? No one will care. No one will remember in the future. No one remembers second unless it's, Max and Lewis, something like that, where it comes down to the end. I think Max catches Oscar for second. I do at this point.
Yeah, if Oscar, they were nailed on, the Papaya Boys. It was first or second, and the only debate was in which order, and that has just fallen away. And Oscar's just picking up too many lower points. And if Max wins, we've got 3 races left. We've got Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. Max wins. Let's just say Max wins 2 of those, and Lando wins the other one, which will be enough for Lando to win the title, basically on that basis. Oscar, if he carries on this kind of 4th, 5th DNF then it's just slipping away of what could have been an absolute... And it's still a brilliant year. I mean, what I love looking at this is when you look at those positions, the top 3 drivers have served up an absolute epic battle this year. We've got 17 podiums for Lando, 14 for Oscar, and 12 for Max. You've got Lando and Oscar have now got 7 wins each. So, that pendulum has swung. Oscar won early on. Lando's clawing them back. And Max has still got 5. So those 3 guys... it's been brilliant. I would have liked it to have, from the purist in me, would have just loved it to have stayed close all the way to the last 3 races. But I think it won't get mathematically sewn up in Vegas. But I think we might have the second hand might not be on it. He might have just wrapped his second pinky around the.
Let's not go too far down in the drivers just because we've been running a little long, and I want to save that. Maybe that's some good analysis for next week as we look down the driver tables. Because there are some interesting things down there. Some people that I'm shocked by when you look at where they are relative. The Carlos Sainz of the world question. And some other drivers that would be interesting to talk about. But in the constructors, we already knew where people stood. We already knew McLaren was 1, but we did not know second and third. Mercedes they have just grabbed second place, 398. Red Bull 366. Max can't do it alone. I don't think he's going to be able to catch Mercedes or hold them off. They're just too good. Kimi's doing too good. George has been too consistent. And Ferrari, 4th behind Red Bull 362. Ferrari hypothetically has 2 drivers, Lewis and Charles. Red Bull has 1 and Max. And Ferrari can't make it happen.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
And the bizarre thing is if when you look at the podiums and wins, Mercedes 10 podiums, 2 wins. Red Bull 12 podiums, 5 wins. Therefore, Red Bull must be ahead of Mercedes, right? Not, like you say, you can't do it alone. And that second driver, okay, they're not podiums or wins, but you can still get big points each week and add up for the constructors. So, right, do we want to hear the final beefing before we kind of wrap up?
Well,
our
hello
thoughts on
there.
This weekend?
From a very moist England. I know people don't like the word moist. Oh, looking outside the window now. Don't think my lights should all be on, but they are. Anyway, right, Brazil Grand Prix. Right, okay, interestingly, I actually didn't realise it was not called the Brazil Grand Prix. You may have touched on this. I apologise if I've missed it. That's really slack. But it's called the Sao Paulo Grand Prix.
Satman
Why?
knows.
Contracts.
It's the Brazil Grand Prix.
So there we go. Right,
Good what I've been tweeting all week.
Let's have a look at that race because I'm going to
you're a
give
nerd,
3
Brian.
cheers to a normal race circuit. I think I've said before on this pod several times. I accept street circuits because that's what they are. I just, it was great, and it's an old school circuit, and I know it always produces good races, and they sort of said, like, well, you can't overtake here, X, Y, Z, and stuff like that. And I think, like, obviously you can. The race was jam-packed full of them. Opening lap. Let's talk on the opening lap. Oscar. There was some debate whether it was a racing incident or what have you. I think, look, realistically, you're going to go into a corner like that. He was slightly long side, but then he dropped back and ultimately he locked up and caused a collision. And yeah, I don't look at Oscar and think he's done anything wrong there. I mean, he deserves a penalty is my point. but I also think, like, if you don't go for that, then you're not trying. So I don't have a big issue with that. Okay,
You don't have a beef?
Fair play. Then obviously screwed up Charles Leclerc, now Ferrari. We could probably have a conversation about them. Because they had an absolute western through completely, if I got to be honest, no fault really of their own. I don't even think Lewis's front wing damage was really his fault. I know he's got the penalty, and it's fine. I'm not just defending Lewis there. Ultimately, like everything, he's hit someone from the back. He has to take the blame. So fair play. But it's turn one in Brazil. It always throws up something. The problem is it's such a tight turn in. Just watching the replay of it now, such a tight turn in. And that can happen. First corner instance, like, here's the thing. First corner incidents, I'm not going to say I don't want to see a penalty given, because that's not what I want to see. But at the same time, there's got to be some punishment for causing collisions. So yeah, it's one of them. It's one of them.
I think it's one of them.
What a brilliant race. There's so much to unpack with it, really, isn't there? There's just battles everywhere. I'm actually just going to cut to the end, because you guys have probably spoke about this for ages, and there's no point me yabbering on about it. Fantastic race. I love the finish with Lawson dragging about 8 cars at the end. I am going to say that if Kimi Antonelli has listened to the pod, he is laughing at us now. He's had an excellent weekend, easily his best weekend, just especially when we made him our test and development driver, not even our reserve driver. So he's probably laughing at us right now.
What about Ollie? He's
Oscar,
loving us.
I don't know. It's just, you can't. I don't think you can't blame him for yesterday. Today was just one of those. Like I said, he's going to get a penalty. I just think Lando's got it over him at the moment, and I think Lando's running towards the championship. And like I said, let's not get overly carried away. It only takes one DNF, and everything's back in weird situations. Let's be realistic of where we are. It only takes one DNF, and it's either over or not over. Then let's just quickly mention Max Verstappen. I think we've got to. My God, Max Verstappen. What a drive that was. People moan at Max and moan at his history and moan at things he's done. The bloke is unbelievable. The bloke is unreal. He deserves every accolade. He deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as Lewis, as ironically Senna, as Schumacher, as Seb Vettel. I think he's just proved again today why he is. You've got to put him as the best driver out. I've always said Lewis. I've got to change. I'm going to go for Max. What a performance. I'm genuinely speechless by it. And we go on to Vegas. Back to America, y'all. See you soon. Oh, by the way, it's lovely being home.
So, yes, we've been going long. We're going to quickly do some SAP stats. Paul, thank you. Paul, thank you. Interestingly, we've talked about, people noticing we're a day late, but we're $1 long. This is a bumper crop. Sprint races always are. And Gaz Wheatman, hope you guys are okay missing my post-race fix. Just tweeted at us 30 seconds ago. I saw it, Gaz. We see you. Hope you made it this far, because we are sorry we're a day late. But there are some great stats. This weekend was crazy. And because of that, I think we're going to go old school F1 intro SAP Stats Sao Paulo Grand Prix 2025 edition. I know what the name of the Grand Prix is. It's Sao Paulo. This was Norris's second.
Brazil.
Don't ruin my flow. This was Norris's second consecutive Grand Prix win from pole position. That idea about pole wins will come back in a second. Norris has now matched McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri's 7 Grand Prix wins, which Rob said. Norris won the sprint and the Grand Prix on the weekend of McLaren CEO Zach Brown's 54th birthday. Happy birthday, Zach. Norris's win was McLaren's first Interlagos race victory since 2012. We heard this on the telecast, which was Jenson Button. This was, and I mentioned this a second ago, the 7th consecutive Grand Prix to be won from pole this season. one short of the record set in 76. I'm borrowing some of these from Sean Kelly. Sean, thank you, friend of the pod. I don't know if I like that one. The winning from pole over and over and over and over and over and over again, 7 times. Kimi Antonelli's P2 for Mercedes was his career best Grand Prix result. Max's P3 for Red Bull was only the 8th time a driver has finished on the podium from a pit lane start, and the first time since Hungary of 2014, Lewis Hamilton in the new turbo hybrid era did that. George Russell in P4 was beaten by Mercedes teammate Antonelli for the 2nd consecutive Grand Prix, having him beaten him in the every prior Grand Prix this year. And then Piastri's P5 missed the podium for the 5th consecutive Grand Prix. He's lost his magic dust, folks, and I don't know where it is. And that ain't a way to win the championship. You don't win it going away. You win it grabbing strong. Put your hand on that trophy and take it, young man. He now trails Norris by 24 points, the largest margin of his deficit in the season. Ollie Behrman, P6 for back-to-back top 6 finishes in Mexico and Sao Paulo. Haas are now just 2 points behind 7th place Aston Martin in the team champion. Let's go, Haas. Let's go. P6 is Haas's best ever Grand Prix finish at Interlagos. P7 for Racing Bull's Liam Lawson secured his 6th Grand Prix points finish this season. I feel like Liam has had more than 6 points finishes, but they've all happened fairly recently, so recency bias has gotten me there. Lawson completed the final 52 laps on medium tires. 52 laps on mediums. That's awesome. Like, when we were sitting there figuring out who's going to last on the tires and not box, Lawson was what we should have been looking at. Teammate Isaac Hadjar finished in P8. Racing Bulls are now 10 points clear of Aston Martin in 6th. Nico Hulkenberg at P9. Kick Sauber scored points in a Grand Prix for the 10th time this season. 10. They had, I think weren't they pointless completely in Valtteri's last year? No. Joe had one.
Joe got points
in
like in
Qatar.
the last but one.
That's
or,
right.
Yeah.
It was Hulkenberg's best Grand Prix finish at Interlagos in 17. Pierre Gasly, the gas man, in P10, scored in both the sprint and the Grand Prix for Alpine, who are last in the team's championship by 14 miles. And finally, the last SAP stat is for Robert Q. Vale Incorporated. Ferrari suffered a 3rd pointless Grand Prix of the season, their most since 2020. Dang.
Oh my gosh. Right. Well, then all I can do to try to lift myself out of the sorrow is to go to Casino Game Update.
Did you beat me?
So, roulette. Position number 3 came out of the hat. Brian went for Oscar. Rob went for Max F. Verstappen.
Did you see the pit lane start happening to get him there? No, you didn't, but that's okay.
Then blackjack. Let's not talk about blackjack. Moving on to 3-car
Let's. Did you go Ferrari boys?
I went McLaren and Mercedes boys, didn't I? George and Kimmy. I went bust big time points. Yeah. Yeah. You went for Charles. No points.
None.
And Isaac. So you won with like 4 points or whatever it was.
Hey,
so you won the.
Have you ever seen someone hold on a 5, and they're like, "No, I'm gonna hold there." 15, I'm holding. And they're like, why? Because all I got to do is let the other guy bust.
3-car poker, you went first. You picked the Max Lando Oscar hand, which meant you got nothing because nobody was in order there. Yeah. You didn't get any cars next to each other.
Yeah.
And I won on a technicality, but I'm happy to void this hand if you don't like this. So if you look at the official classification...
Oh, God.
Because I picked Lewis, Charles, and George... And in the official classification of the DNFs, Lewis and Charles finished next to each other. Like I say, I didn't give a point for that because that just feels all kinds of wrong.
Yeah, let's not do DNFs included. I mean, I get your point in classification. But...
Yeah. I don't worry, I didn't.
Right.
And then in the midweek predictions, you went Max to win. Nope. Lando second, Oscar third. So you got Max and Lando both on the podium at least. You get 2 points. I said Lando to win from Lewis. So Lewis got me nothing, but Max got me maximum point. Lando got me maximum points for being in the right spot. And I got Max, so I got 4 points. You got 2, which means overall heading with 3 Grand Prix left. In the casino games part of it, you were beating me 20 points to 19, a 1 point difference. And in the predictions,
I'm losing bad, aren't I?
I am 61-55 up.
Oh,
so I got a 5 point lead on you. However, we could also be right now. I've got to redo it, but we did our constructors title predictions, and the way things are at the moment, We said we'd give 10 points for the exact position, and you lose 1 for every point that you're out. Right now, although we've got different teams in different places, we're both sat on 80 points each. But, if I think if Haas can climb a place, you're going to clinch it, and that looks like almost the only move that can happen. I had Alpine up in 5th.
I told you it was a bad idea with the chassis
yeah,
from last year.
I know. So that's what's killing my score, and nothing's going to happen there. So really, because we both went exactly the same top 4, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. We both had Sauber at the bottom, and we're wrong. So, yeah, if Haas, it's all on Haas. If Haas overhaul Aston Martin, you're going to win that
Ollie.
one, which might be enough points to kind of flip you on the race. You've got to get your race prediction sorted for the last 3 races.
I'm going to nail it.
But anyway, yeah. So that was the Brazil Grand Prix with a bumper sprint weekend thing. We've been going on for about 14 hours. We've been talking for as long as Hadjar and Gasman were battling each other.
Totally. We got to finish fantasy because it's calculated, and then we'll close the weekend. So
yeah, okay.
If you got anything left to say at the end, tell me. Here we go, though, fantasy. Oh, a sprint weekend. Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Some people did some really good ideas and used Limitless. We had a tie for first. Chris Zuzu from Kuki. We had Papaya Rules from Petto. Tails I Win Andy. All tied for first. Great job, you 3. Oliver Beerme, a great name, from Mark in 4th. Sangaucho Asir in 5th. Debesiaki from Bartek. Sorry, Bartek. Tied with Kachiga from Gabe and RRM F1 Team Roman. And then we had a big tie for 9th, which everyone gets a shout out for being in the top 10. Lost my V-Carb Kevin. Quilla Racing Team Andres, and switched to Plan B Michael. Great job, everyone. And the top 3 in the league at this point as we're closing in on the end of the season. And remember, there's a T-shirt for Vegas because it's an American race, and there's a T-shirt for the overall winner. So people are getting close. Overall winner, 44th gear so far. I meant to say 44th gear. Gavin, Box 1, Patrick, and the Kurdish boy Dahan. Rob, anything from you want to say before we close out this bad boy?
No, I think we just close out this bad boy.
Well, let's do that.